back to my channel where we are reading the Bible in a year. We are reading the entire Bible in a year. And we are now on day 61, where today we will be reading from Matthew. We're still in Matthew 9 verses 1 through 17, Leviticus 3 through 4, and Proverbs 20. Starting with Matthew 9, 1 through 17. All right? So, 9. And after getting into a boat, he crossed the sea and came to his own town. And I forgot to give you like a little brief summary of where we are. I believe that we are still yeah, we're still on Jesus carrying out God's commissions, and then after tomorrow we'll be on Jesus teaching on the mission. So we're still in Jesus's ministry, and this is him carrying out God's commissions. So, all right. So after getting into a boat, he crossed the sea and came to his own town. Jesus heals a paralytic. And just then some people were carrying a paralyzed man laying on the bed. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, son, your sins are forgiven." Then some of the scribes said to themselves, "This man is blaspheming." But Jesus, perceiving their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Stand up and walk'? But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," he then said to the paralytic, "Stand up, take your bed and go to your home." And he stood up and went to his home. When the crowd saw it, they were filled with awe, and they glorified God who had given such authority to human beings. The call of Matthew. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" But when they heard this, he said, "Those who are well have no need for a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners." The question about fasting. When the disciples of Jesus, John, came to him saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast? And Jesus said to them, "The wedding guests cannot mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them, can they? The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and they will fast. No one sews a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old cloak, for the patch pulls away from the cloak, and a worse tear is made. Neither is new wine put into old wineskins. Otherwise the skins burst, and the wine is spilled, and the skins are destroyed. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, so both are preserved." So that ends the lesson, the scripture reading for Matthew on today. So that you hear them asking about, well, let me start from the top. Jesus heals the paralytic. They said that was blasphemy. The fact that he was saying that he had the authority to heal, or telling the paralytic that his sins are forgiven, not knowing that this is the Messiah and God has sent him and has given him the authority to forgive sins. So they said that he was paralytic, but basically they weren't, the scribe readers were not, they were all about tradition, as you can see through the rest of the text on today. The crowds were glorifying God because they seen this miracle, and this was actually something that would help people glorify God and see his miracles. Jesus then calls Matthew and says, "Come and follow me." And Matthew went and followed him. And nobody knows the story behind that, just him seeing this guy. He probably knew about, or had been watching him for a while, and just got up immediately and wanted to change himself. Like, he no longer wanted to do that because tax collectors were really frowned upon. And then they go and have this dinner or this feast, and they sit with sinners and tax collectors. And why are you mingling with them? I am not here for the saved. I am here for the sinner. So, like he said, I'm not here for the righteous. I'm not. Why? I mean, does the doctor perform surgery on someone who is well, or do they perform surgery on someone who is sick? The doctor is there for the sick, not the well. I mean, you go to a regular physician for a checkup for that, but they're here. He's here for the sinners. Like, so that's who I need to be around. I need to go and witness to them. All right. And I don't need a lot of noise because it's going to be in my video. I'm just reminding someone of that. Be respectful. Okay. So then there's a question about fasting. It's saying that the disciples are not fasting. Why do they do minimal fasting? Jesus is not saying that he doesn't support fasting, but it's a matter of timing. There's a time and a place for everything. When someone seeks God's presence or forgiveness or salvation, when Jesus, fasting offers access to these gifts and sustains the way of life. Deeds of justice must accompany fasting. This is what I'm reading at the bottom in my commentary here. But yeah, there's a time and a place for everything. And so when we fast, we're just trying to open up for the presence of God. Okay? So fasting offers access to the gifts of God's presence and forgiveness and salvation. Okay? So that was pretty quick. Then now we're gonna read. And mind you, I'm kind of winging it here because I did not take notes before doing this, and I definitely won't be doing this again. Not where I'm not taking notes, because notes are very important and it helps you to kind of get through a little bit more smoothly. So now I'm going back to, I'm so used to going to Exodus, but we are in Leviticus, praise the Lord. Okay, Leviticus 3-4, offerings of well-being. If the offering is a sacrifice of well-being, you offer an animal of the herd, whether a male or female. You shall offer one without blemish before the Lord. You shall lay your hands on the head of the offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Aaron's sons and the priest shall dash the blood against the sides of the altar. You shall offer from the sacrifice of well-being as an offering by fire to the Lord the fat that covers the entrails, and all the fat is around the entrails, the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them at the loins, and the appendage of the liver, which he shall remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's son shall turn these into smoke on the altar. With the burnt offering that is on the wood of the fire is an offering by fire, a pleasing odor to the Lord. If your offering for sacrifice of well-being to the Lord is from the flock, male or female, you shall offer one without blemish. If you present a sheep as your offering, you shall bring it before the Lord and lay your hand on the head of the offering. It shall be slaughtered before the tent of meeting, and Aaron's son shall dash its blood against all sides of the altar. You shall present its fat from the sacrifice of well-being as an offering by fire to the Lord, the whole broad tail which shall be removed close to the backbone, the fat that covers the entrails and all the fat that is around the entrails, the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them and at the loins, and the appendage of the liver which you shall remove with the kidneys. Then the priest shall turn these into smoke on the altar as food offering by fire to the Lord. If your offering is a goat, you shall bring it before the Lord, lay your hand on its head, and it shall be slaughtered before the tent of meeting, and the sons of Aaron shall dash its blood against all sides of the altar. You shall present your offering from it as an offering by fire to the Lord. The fat that covers the entrails and the fat that is all around the entrails, the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them at the loins, and the appendage of the liver, which you shall remove with the kidneys. Then the priest shall turn these into smoke on the altar as food offering by fire or pleasing odor. All fat is the Lord's. It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your settlements. You must not eat any fat or any blood. All right. So this is like the regulations as to how you are to sacrifice animals to the Lord. So, this all belongs to the Lord. So it is to be burned at the altar. No, there's nothing is really offered about this. It just reflects on the idea that it burns well on the altar. That's all. It's what I'm seeing down here in the commentary. And of course, like I said, I usually would have made thorough notes and a slight investigation before starting, but not today. All right, so chapter 4. The Lord spoke to Moses saying, speak to the people of Israel saying, when anyone sins unintentionally in any of the Lord's commandments about things not to be done and does any of them, if it is the anointed priest who sins, thus bringing guilt on the people, he shall offer for the sin that he has committed a bull of the herd without blemish as sin offered to the Lord. He shall bring the bull to the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord and lay his head on the head of the bull. The bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord. The anointed priest shall take some of the blood of the bull and bring it into the tent of meeting. The priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle some of the blood 7 times before the Lord in front of the curtain of the sanctuary. The priest shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of fragrant incense that is in the tent of meeting before the Lord, and the rest of the blood of the bull shall pour out at the base of the altar for burnt offering, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall remove all the fat from the bull of sin offering, the fat that covers the entrails and all the fat that is around the entrails, the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them at the loins, and the appendage of the liver, which he shall remove with the kidneys, just as these are removed from the ox of the sacrifice of well-being. The priest shall turn them into smoke upon the altar of burnt offering. But the skin of the bull and all its flesh, as well as its head, its legs, its entrails, its dung, and all the rest of the bull shall carry out to a clean place outside the camp to the ash heap, and shall burn it on a wood fire at the ash heap. It shall be burned. If the whole congregation of Israel errs unintentionally, and matter escapes the notice of the assembly, and they do any of the things that by the Lord's commandments ought not to be done, and incur guilt, when the sin that they have committed becomes known, the assembly shall offer a bull or of the herd for a sin offering and bring it before the tent of meeting. The elders of the congregation shall lay their hands on the head of the bull before the Lord, and the bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord. The anointed priest shall bring some of the blood of the bull into the tent of meeting, and the priest shall dip his fingers in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord in front of the curtain. He shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar that is before the Lord of the tent of meeting, and the rest of the blood he shall pour out of the base of the altar of the burnt offering that is in the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall remove all its fat and turn it into smoke on the altar. He shall do with the bull just as is done with the bull of sin offering. He shall do the same with this. The priest shall make an atonement for them, and they shall be forgiven. He shall carry the bull outside the camp and burn it as he burned the first bull. It is the sin offering for the assembly. When the ruler sins, doing unintentionally any of all the things that by the commandments of the Lord his God ought not to be done, and incurs guilt, once the sin that he has committed is made known to him, he shall bring his offering of male goat without blemish. He shall lay his hand on the head of the goat. It shall be slaughtered at the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered before the Lord. It is a sin offering. The priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his fingers and put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour out the rest of its blood at the base of the altar of burnt offering. All its fat he shall turn into smoke on the altar, like the fat of the sacrifice of well-being. Thus the priest shall make atonement on his behalf for his sin, and he shall be forgiven. If any one of the ordinary people among you sins unintentionally in doing one of the things that by the Lord's commandments ought not to be done, and incurs guilt, when the sin that you have committed is made known to you, you shall bring a female goat without blemish as your offering for the sin that you have committed. You shall lay your hand on the head of the sin offering, and the sin offering shall be slaughtered at the place of the burnt offering. The priest shall take some of its blood with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and he shall pour out the rest of his blood at the base of the altar. He shall remove all its fat, as the fat is removed from the offering of well-being, and the priest shall turn it into smoke at the altar for pleasing odor to the Lord. Thus the priest shall make atonement on your behalf, and you shall be forgiven. If the offering you bring is a sin offering, as is a sheep, you shall bring a female without blemish. You shall lay your hand on the head of sin offering, and it shall be slaughtered as a sin offering at the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered. The priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour out the rest of its blood at the base of the altar. You shall remove all its fat, as the fat of the sheep is removed from the sacrifice of well-being, and the priest shall turn it into smoke on the altar with the offerings by fire to the Lord. Thus the priest shall make atonement on your behalf for the sin that you have committed, and you shall be forgiven. I find, oh God, it's so hard to, it's like I said, the wording of the Old Testament or the Hebrew translation or whatever in the Old Testament is so hard to read sometimes, especially when it's things like this where there's directions given, because I really struggled with the whole building of the tabernacle, but I'm really struggling now because I did not pre-read this prior to this. But anyway, chapter 4 is just how you're supposed to offer as, I guess, as an offering for sins. So individuals bring female sheeps. And he feels guilty, or is brought to his attention that he's guilty of a sin. So ordinary people is just literally any one of the people of the land. This is then they talk about purification sacrifice for the ruler or leader was male goat. I'm trying to go through. High priest. Let me see. Here they say like. Trying to see, but yeah, so a bull, that would be for, gosh, what was a bull sacrifice for? If the anointed priest, okay, so the priest, so it goes from bull to goat to whatever, I guess wherever your status was the type of sacrifice you made. But like I said, we no longer have to. Jesus was the sacrifice for everyone, okay, no matter where you are in status. So that's that. The next next one's going to be a long because we got to read 5 through 6. And 6 is, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. All right, so we're going to move on to Proverbs. Hold my place here. And we're going to move on to Proverbs. Proverbs, what did I say? Proverbs 20. All right, Proverbs 20. So wine is a mocker, strong drink, a brawler. And whoever is led astray by it is not wise. The dread anger of a king is like the growling of a lion. Anyone who provokes him to anger forfeits life itself. It is honorable to refrain from strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. The lazy person does not plow in season. Harvest comes and there is nothing to be found. The purposes in the human mind are like deep water, but the intelligent will draw them out. Many proclaim themselves loyal, but who can find one worthy of trust? The righteous walk in integrity. Happy are the children who follow them. A king who sits on the throne of judgment winnows all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have made my heart clean? I am pure from my sin. Diverse weights and diverse measures are both alike in abomination to the Lord. Even children make themselves known by their acts, by whether what they do is pure and right. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both. Do not love sleep, or else you will come to poverty. Open your eyes and you will have plenty of bread. Bad, says the buyer, then goes away and boasts. There is gold in abundance of costly stones, but the lips informed by knowledge are a precious jewel. Take the garment of one who has given surety for a stranger. Seize the pledge given as surety for foreigners. Bread gained by the sea is sweet, but afterward the mouth will be full of gravel. Plans are established by taking advice. Wage war by following wise guidance. A gossip reveals secrets, therefore do not associate with a babbler. If you curse father or mother, your lamp will go out in utter darkness. An estate quickly acquired in the beginning will not be blessed in the end. Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will help you. Differing weights are an abomination to the Lord, and false scales are not good. All our steps are ordered by the Lord. How then can we understand our own ways? It is a snare for one to say rashly, it is holy, and begin to reflect only after making a vow. A wise king winnows the wicked and drives the wheel over them. The human spirit is the lamp of the Lord, searching every inmost part. Loyalty and faithfulness preserve the king, and his throne is upheld by righteousness. The glory of youth is their strength, but the beauty of the age is their gray hair. Blows that wound cleanse evil. Beatings make clean the innermost parts. All right. I think I'll just point out a few. Let's see. So even children make themselves known by their acts. Children are immature, so their acts are immature. Okay. By whether what they do is pure and right. So, but a lot of times, purity comes with children. They mean well, but sometimes, but their acts are a bit immature. Let's see another one. So, bread gained by the sea is sweet. Now, it might be sweet in the minute whenever you do something wrong, but sure enough, it's going to catch up with you. But afterward, the mouth will be full of gravel. So, basically, whatever you make, that's what you got to live in. So, I'm just thinking about gravel as cavities. You eat a lot of sweets, you're going to get a lot of cavities. So whatever you do, there's a consequence for it, especially when it's wrong. We know we shouldn't do this. We know we shouldn't eat a lot of sweets, and then we get cavities. Or we know we shouldn't steal, and then you go to jail. We know we shouldn't lie, and then you end up hurting somebody, and you're caught up in your own lie. So there is a consequence to every action. I think I'm just gonna stick with the 2, and then that ends today's lesson. I hope that it was easy to follow, even though I didn't have like written out notes and commentary, but we made it through, and no matter what, because in the beginning I wasn't even doing that, period. And so the point is for you to read the word and gain your own understanding sometimes. And maybe that's, a good way to do it is by me not doing it today. But anyway, so I will be moving forward today. I'm on day 61. And so I'm going to move forward to day 62. And then I'm also going to go ahead and do day 63 for tomorrow. Maybe I can make some quick notes or whatever if time will allow. All right. Anyway, until my next video, farewell and be blessed.